In a small, dusty village surrounded by dense forests and rolling hills, there lived a boy named Rohan. He was the son of a poor farmer, with barely enough food to eat most days, but that didn't stop him from dreaming big. Rohan was unlike any other child in the village. While others played simple games or helped their parents with chores, Rohan spent his days pretending to be a king. He would craft wooden swords from fallen branches, tie an old cloth around his shoulders like a royal cape, and march around the village as if he ruled it. "The king is here!" he would shout, his head held high, even though his bare feet were caked with mud. The villagers would laugh, shaking their heads at his antics. "That boy has nothing, and yet he wants to be a king," they said mockingly. But Rohan didn't care. Deep down, he believed that greatness wasn't about where you came from. It was about what you did. One day, a traveling fair arrived in the nearby town. The entire village was buzzing with excitement, and Rohan begged his parents to let him go. They hesitated, as they couldn't spare a single coin, but seeing the sparkle in their son's eyes, they gave him a few coins saved from months of hard work. "Spend it wisely," his father said. At the fair, Rohan marveled at the bright colors, exotic performers, and bustling crowds. But one stall caught his attention, a fortune teller's tent draped in dark fabrics and lit with flickering candles. Curiosity got the better of him, and he handed over his precious coins to the old woman inside. The fortune teller peered into his wide, eager eyes and asked, "What do you wish to know, child?" Rohan didn't hesitate. "Will I ever become a king?" The old woman smiled, her face crinkling like parchment. "A king is not made by gold or thrones," she said. "A king is someone who has the courage to protect others and the heart to lead with kindness. If you have these, your crown will find you." Rohan's heart raced at her words. He left the tent feeling as if she had unlocked a secret destiny within him. From that day onward, he made it his mission to live like a true king, not by commanding others, but by helping them. Whenever someone in the village needed help, Rohan was there. If a cart was stuck in the mud, he'd push it free. If an old woman struggled with her chores, Rohan would fetch water and carry firewood for her. His kindness earned him respect, and the villagers who once laughed at him began to admire him. They started calling him Little King as a playful nickname, but to Rohan it felt like the first step toward his dream. But life wasn't kind to dreamers for long. One fateful night, the village was attacked by a gang of bandits. These were no ordinary thieves. They were ruthless men who raided villages, taking whatever they wanted and burning what they left behind. The villagers panicked, huddling together in fear as the bandits demanded food, gold, and livestock. "If you don't give us what we want by sunrise," their leader growled, "we'll destroy your village." The elders were paralyzed with fear, unsure of what to do. That's when Rohan, just a boy of 14, stepped forward. "We can fight them," he declared. The villagers were stunned. "You're just a child," one elder said. "These are hardened criminals. What can you do?" Rohan's eyes burned with determination. "A king doesn't run away from danger. If we work together, we can outsmart them." Reluctantly, the villagers agreed to follow his plan. Rohan and his friends worked through the night, setting traps along the forest paths where the bandits were camped. They dug pits and covered them with leaves, spread thorny vines across the ground, and prepared makeshift weapons from farming tools. At dawn, when the bandits marched into the village, they were caught completely off guard. Their horses stumbled into pits, their feet were tangled in vines, and the villagers, emboldened by Rohan's courage, fought back fiercely. The bandits, realizing they were outnumbered and outsmarted, fled in humiliation. The village erupted in celebration. They lifted Rohan onto their shoulders, chanting, "Our little king! Our little king!" Tears welled up in Rohan's eyes, not from pride but from the overwhelming realization that he had earned their trust. For the first time, he felt like he had taken a real step toward his dream. But fate wasn't finished with him yet. A few months later, a royal envoy arrived at the village. The villagers gathered in awe as the richly dressed soldiers dismounted their horses. The leader of the envoy stepped forward and addressed Rohan directly. "The king has heard of your bravery and wishes to meet you," he said. Rohan's heart raced. "Me? Why would the king want to meet someone like me?" "You've shown the qualities of a true leader," the envoy replied. "Courage, wisdom, and selflessness. The king values such traits." Torn between excitement and disbelief, Rohan traveled to the palace. When he arrived, he was awestruck by its grandeur, the towering walls, glittering chandeliers, and bustling courtyards. But what surprised him most was the warmth of the king himself. "You remind me of myself when I was young," the king said with a smile. "A true king isn't born with a crown. He earns it by putting others before himself. I want you to train with my army and learn the ways of leadership. One day you could help me rule this kingdom." Rohan was overwhelmed with emotion. The boy who had once played with sticks and dreamed of castles was now standing in a real palace, chosen by the king himself. It felt like the culmination of everything he had worked for. But just as he began to settle into his new life, a dark twist emerged. Late one night, Rohan received a letter slipped under his door. It was unsigned and written in hurried scrawls. "Beware of those closest to the throne. The crown you've earned may become the very thing that destroys you." Rohan's hands trembled as he read the note. For the first time, he realized that being a king wasn't just about courage and kindness. It was also about navigating treachery, jealousy, and power struggles. The world he had stepped into was far more dangerous than he had imagined. And so, the boy who had dreamed of becoming a king now found himself on a path filled with both glory and peril. Rohan knew that his journey was just beginning, and that the true test of a king wasn't defeating enemies, but staying true to himself in a world that sought to change him.